Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another War of the Visions video, and today we're talking all about Kadaj, my first level 140 Final Fantasy VII Advent Children unit. This was a unit I wasn't even planning on pulling when the collab started, but I got Cloud for almost nothing, I got him for almost nothing, so instead of not pulling him, he's actually the first unit that I've built up, and I've been having some fun with him in Arena so far this week. Been running him in a water team. I've got young King Elda and Joom the Celestial. There's a specific reason I'm running him with those two that we'll get to here in a minute. But first of all, here's his stats in this team with this setup at level 140, 0 reincarnations. And these stats tell a pretty accurate picture of what this guy is. He has an okay amount of HP, like 12.4k is decent, but it's not even as high as a lot of like other bruisers in the game. There's some gear, Espers or vision cards you could use to buff that up a little bit more, but he's not the tankiest person on the planet unless he's applying his debuffs to the enemy, which increases his survivability and the rest of his team. And he is definitely like an offensive support. You can see 1973 attack in this build, and that's pretty high. Like, that's pretty good, pushing 2k attack. For example, another slashing unit, Joom, 2100, and she's definitely the hardest hitting carry of this group. And then King Elda with this build's only at 1586. Now, King Elda's also running an MR Esper on this team, so Elda could get a little bit higher, but whatever. His attack is respectable, and his damage is enough you can't ignore it. But he's definitely made to be somebody who opens up on the enemy team, is removing courage, removing re-raise, and lowering their ability to do damage while increasing your team's ability to do damage. Real quick, I just want to show you like the setup and why I'm doing it. So here's Kadaj. I want to mention his TMR for a second. I think this is a really good TMR for him specifically, but there's no agility on it, and you're going to want to play this on a map that's bigger than our current arena map, in my opinion. Giving himself and allies these debuffs to when they attack, I think fits his kit perfectly, and I really wish I could have worked it in on this version of the arena this week, but he needs 3 turns, I think, if you're going to try to get a TMR buff off on him, because you're going to have him on turn 1 do Killing Frenzy, which gives Human Killer to himself and his allies, and I feel like giving him that 30 Human Killer really helps his damage out a lot. And if you're running him with another big carry like King Elda or Joom the Celestial, wow, that helps them out a lot too. It also gives him haste, and then that human resist 25. I mean, that's going to help him survive. He gets damage reduction for 3 turns for self, and then he gets a debuff for his attacks. Like, this does so much. You're going to want him doing this on his first turn. Now, note something he doesn't have in his kit, and that's why I'm running the other 2 units with him. 1, because they're carries, which he's all about enabling, but 2, he does not give unit resist or AoE resist. King Elda and Joom collectively give both of those buffs, so you're going to want to have those buffs find their way in, and then this guy's going to be working in there doing his debuff thing. So if we switch back to this real quick, this team comp that I'm running looks like this. I'm planning to have Kadaj run to Elda on turn 1, give himself haste, give himself and Elda that human killer, then Joom, if she can at some point on this map, giving the unit resist to Kadaj, because you can see he's at 51 unit resist. By moving to King Elda, he'll get another 20 AoE resist, putting him at 50 and 50, which will really help him survive, especially if he can hit first and apply those debuffs. And then for Joom, this map's really hard for slot 3 person to do a buff. So Joom's going to buff herself on the first turn, then I'm hoping she can find her way over to Kadaj later and hit him with Fairy Guard for a little more unit resist for himself, and this will help keep her kind of with the team so they can wombo stuff down together. I've got all their agilities fairly well synced, and so I think it'll work out pretty good. Let's go do a fight and see how this plays. Now, we're not going to fight a lightning team because that's just crazy. Kadaj does have guaranteed hits, so if you find yourself fighting fire evade, it's not the worst thing ever. Here's a fire team. Now, everybody's going to say this fight doesn't, I've heard this conversation a lot of times in the comments section. Oh my God, you're fighting a fire team with a water team. When you beat them, it doesn't even count. It does count. You still get the win and you get the points. And in fact, you ought to do that if you are trying to climb rankings. I'm doing this as just a first fight for this video to more highlight the movement and the way Kadaj plays out. I really just want to point those things. If this is any kind of a guide, I just kind of want to show you why I set my team comp up the way I did. So I'll slow it down to 1.5 to walk through this. Kadaj is going to walk over, give the human killer to Elda, and then Elda's going to give him the AoE resist, plus Kadaj gets haste and all of those debuffs and damage reduction things. Mont gets his regenerate, and then that's the tricky part of this map. Your unit in slot 3 is so dang far away from your team. It makes it really awkward, and that's why I gave June the TMR that I did, to give her a chance to draw in. Now, Mother's Power is going to give Kadaj re-raise. I really like that on him, and then we're going to get the haste from King Elda, so now he and Kadaj both have haste. Here, June was not able to get a unit resist buff on Kadaj, so he's 50% on both. Okay, there's the first attack from the enemy team. Kadaj was in Vortex. That's a big move for him. That is the move that lowers damage on the enemy team, and you can see he did a lot of damage himself. Now, that was into fire. He's a level 140 unit who hit 2 fire units with an AoE attack. He did not kill either of them, but that's actually okay. And then this is a status effect team. We'll take poison. Like, if poison's the worst these guys got for us, we're going to be feeling pretty good about this. Elda's going to step forward, do his Lion's Drain. Similar damage to what Kadaj was able to do. Kefka will re-raise, and then the haste is going to play out. Even though haste was, it looks like it's been removed, that's big damage chaining onto the Kefka, or the Kafka. Yeah, wait, Kafka, you know, the clown, and he's dead, and then June's going to try to finish this off. Let's go ahead and skip the rest of this one and then speed things back up. Just watch it play out. Elda's not gonna be able to finish it yet. He's gonna give his little second round of buffs. Revelka is gonna do what she can, and then we'll let Kadaj finish it off with Reaping Blade for 7469. So that showed kind of the early turn movement that I want with this group, minus the weirdness of June in spot 3, with her just kind of being unable to find a unit resist buff. We were pretty tanky. Now, something that can happen, and in fact happens a lot in these fights that I've been using, is you'll see Kadaj use his limit break, and his limit break is really important for him to get off if he can. It's a diamond shaped AoE. We were a little too far away from the enemy here for him to hit both of them, but he will prioritize this. It dispels courage and dispels re-raise. This is a huge one for him. It also has that boosted hit chance, which is nice, but dispelling courage and re-raise is a big deal. Instead, what you saw him doing right there was Vortex, which is his boosted hit chance move. Now, that one's interesting. Usually what I see him using is like dual inevitability, which is the defense debuff guaranteed hit. Really, if he's doing any kind of damage, he is applying these debuffs that he buffed onto himself for 4 turns, turning down the unit's crit rate and dispelling auto restore. This is another reason why I really like his TMR on him, because his ult removing courage and re-raise is really awesome, but if you can give him more status effects, or I should say more debuffs with his basic attacks, this becomes, you know, even better. Now he's, you know, minus 30% attacking and then decreasing human killer by 20. I really like that. But if we head back to our team comp here, the big problem with that is, like, right now, he's fairly fast in this lineup at 118. If I was to switch his TMR to his own TMR, first of all, let's scroll down. This one right here, Soulbreaker. Yeah, it's an armor. So I would then lose the unit resist buff that I'm getting from that armor. That's not the worst thing ever. I can replace it with pod. That'll give me a little bit of that unit resist back too, but my HP, it's pretty much the same. I gain the buff. Maybe we try this. You get a little bit more. Losing the unit resist probably not fine. I'll tell you what, let's level this up and then let's see how his buff rotation works and see how it plays out with this on, and then see if that will override his self buff. Okay, so I maxed out the ability on his TMR. I switched him to pod. You can see his agility actually went up to 121 because of the 7 agility on pod, which is kind of nice, but now it's a little bit harder to tune that without like taking out some agility trust stones or something. So he's going to end up being a lot faster than the rest of my team. We'll see how that plays out. Like, when I say a lot faster, I mean a lot faster, because he's going to be the first person with haste. Here's a water team. So this is water, new cloud. One nice thing about this squad that we're running is I feel like this team is just generically good into almost everything. King Elda's a decent unit. Celestial Joom is like a top tier unit. And then Kadaj being the glue that ties it all together. Really, that's what we're kind of finding out. Like, is he a solid enough glue to tie a team together? I don't know yet. Like, he's been fun. I think he looks pretty cool. His moves look pretty cool. His limit break animation I like a lot. We'll see how he does in this fight. I'm really hoping that the AI, which it probably will prioritize that second group buff. So then whenever we're hitting, whether we're hitting with our limit break or any of our moves, we are just debuffing the heck out of these people. A drawback of this is I'm losing some unit resist, and on this map it's hard for Joom to find the unit resist buff on him, so we're a little bit less tanky with this build. But if we're able to hit the enemy first and apply all of those debuffs, our less tankiness will be overcome by the fact that, well, they don't do much. So let's see what he does first this time. He's going to run over. He's going to go Killing Frenzy. So there's his haste. So he still prioritizes his group buff from his kit over the TMR buff, and I am sure that I turned the TMR buff back on. Now this time I wonder where we'll move to. Last time the map kind of went to the left side of the screen, and that pulled him away from Joom, kind of preventing her from getting that buff online. This time they have a tank. Where is this tank going to move? Right down the middle. So Kadaj will run to Elda and go Soulbreaker. So there's the debuff on his attacks, and now King Elda has those debuffs too, which is nice because Elda's going to be the first person to attack, and Elda does have some AoE. He doesn't find any of the AoE, but he applies the debuffs himself. This time we'll get the unit resist from Fairy Guard from Joom. She's kind of hanging back. I'm not sure like if that's exactly what we want, but on this map what I found so far is it's kind of good. With Kadaj on your team in general, you want him hitting everybody before they hit him. Otherwise, like half of what he does is kind of useless. Now, Courage Seal Remove was only put onto Elda right there, but watch the amount of debuffs he's going to apply with this Calamity. Unfortunately, it's only hitting their tank, but watch this. Watch this. It's going to do its damage, and then Courage Remove, debuff, 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 debuff. That's 4 debuffs and Courage and Re-Raise Remove. Like, that's pretty good. Is it as useful as just a hardcore carry? I don't know, but he is going to lap basically everybody on their team. Vortex, so reapplies the debuffs to the tank, lands the debuffs on Celestial Joom. Lion's Rain coming in right there from Elda. That'll kill their tank. That's great. And with her Courage removed, she's gone. Whirling Blade comes in. We get some Joom on Joom crime. And then Kadaj is fast in this lineup, like particularly fast. He's tanky enough to survive that. Now, King Elda will go down, but still does have his re-raise. And Kadaj is going to get to debuff the entire enemy team again with that Vortex. So there we go. Just look at the amount of debuffs he's applying. And there, he has physical reflex too. You just saw that pop, which is nice. So I think I want to say too, right here, Joom's dead if Kadaj does not debuff the enemy, right? Kadaj debuffing their Joom before she hit ours saved her right there. She does not die. Now, Cloud's going to try to kill everybody, and he might. He does not. And in fact, he doesn't kill either of us because Joom still had her Courage. There's Lunacy Wave, so he lands his Berserk. That's something else he can do. Cloud has no chance to AoE kill us all right there because he got Berserked, and Kadaj is going to finish it. He was pretty dang useful in that fight. Like, he really kind of popped off there, in my opinion. So that's what he can do. He's a weird unit. Like, he doesn't play. I'm having a hard time thinking of a perfect comparison to another unit in this game to compare to him, but that's how he plays, right? I really liked using his TMR right there. I thought that was just cool. I thought I added an extra layer to him, but he plays as a high damage dealing, debuffing support type unit. He needs to hit the enemy before the enemy unloads on your team. You saw how valuable that was in that second fight, and I'm very excited. It's been fun playing him on a water team this week. I'm very excited to see how he plays with Sephiroth next week on a full-on Katana team. That's going to be pretty awesome. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.